Sir Keir Starmer last night warned the world faces a once-in-a-generation moment for security as the very future of NATO has been plunged into doubt. The PM vowed to act as a bridge between the US and Europe to try to broker a deal to secure Ukraine's future and face down Russia. France is holding an emergency summit as early as Monday, where Sir Keir will join European leaders and the NATO Secretary-General for crunch defense talks. It comes after Volodymyr Zelensky called for the creation of a new European army to defeat Putin's Russia, as he warned they can no longer rely on the US for protection. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary David Lammy said Britain might need to up its defense spending to Cold War levels in this new era of aggression. Sir Keir said, "This is a once-in-a-generation moment for our national security, where we engage with the reality of the world today and the threat we face from Russia. It's clear Europe must take on a greater role in NATO as we work with the United States to secure Ukraine's future and face down the threat we face from Russia. The UK will work to ensure we keep the US and Europe together. We cannot allow any divisions in the alliance to distract from the external enemies we face." Donald Trump stunned the world when he phoned Vladimir Putin to broker peace talks in Ukraine. It plunged Europe and Ukraine, who were not warned of the call, into crisis and raised questions over the future of NATO. Sir Keir is planning to visit President Trump next week for crucial talks in Washington. He believes Britain can bring the US and Europe together to ensure Ukraine's sovereignty is secured. The PM will relay messages from the France summit to Mr. Trump. He will then return for another summit with Europe and Mr. Zelensky, where he will relay President Trump's response in a blistering speech. Mr. Zelensky said the old days of Europe relying on American military might to protect them are over. The Ukrainian leader's comments, in front of a stunned audience of world leaders in Munich, piled more pressure on Britain and Europe to ramp up military spending. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, Mr. Zelensky said Europe had entered a new chapter in history and must take responsibility for its military defense. He said, "As we fight this war and lay the groundwork for peace and security, we must build the armed forces of Europe so that Europe's future depends only on Europeans and decisions about Europe are made in Europe." The new US administration has told Europe it must start paying for its own defense after decades of underinvestment. The UK only spends 2.3% of GDP on defense and will set out a path to hit 2.5% within the next few months. Government sources said the plan was to hit 2.5% by 2032. But senior figures are urging the PM to spend more, hinting at the row. Mr. Lammy told the conference, "All of us as foreign ministers have had detailed conversations with our Treasury departments. One of the messages we are deadly serious about is if Ukraine were to fail, the costs would be considerably more." He pointed out countries were spending around 7% of GDP on defense in the Cold War. Former head of the British Army Gen. Lord Richard Dannatt said defense spending should be ramped up to 3% or higher. He warned that PM Sir Keir will be consigned to the bin of history unless he finds more money for our military. He added, "We need to deter Putin in a way we failed to deter Hitler." Tory former Defense Secretary Grant Shapps said, "For too long we've relied on America to shield us while some nations contribute next to nothing." But the answer was not in a Euro army, but in Europe spending more to protect its borders through NATO. "If we don't wake up now, we'll sleepwalk into disaster," he added.